TI10 is over and Secret finished in 3rd place, but I just wanted to show you this incredible Enchantress game that Puppey played in the winner bracket semifinals against IG. He played what is quite possibly the best Enchantress game I've ever seen. Aside from some of his stacking in that game is a bit off at some points, but overall his gameplay here is incredibly powerful. So I'm just gonna show you this game just to illustrate what an Enchantress can do, especially in the early game. As Enchantress, you want to start off with a Blightstone almost always. You've seen some Enches at this tournament go for Boots of Speed first, which you can do that. Makes you a lot more mobile, obviously, and makes you able to dodge all sorts of incoming damage from heroes that can run you down. But in general, this one is going to give you much stronger laning stage and also allows you to buy a sentry ward, which is important so you can deward camps if they get blocked, which you're usually going to run into if you play opponents that know what they're doing. So against Enchantress, you always want to block this camp here. This hard camp in the safe lane is the camp that Enchantress wants to take. So always as a +4, if you're playing against Enchantress, you want to block this large camp either with your body or with a sentry. You see Lion already running out a sentry here. The Minimag is coming up, and Kaka is just going to move in here and claim this camp. And Puppey's going to give it up. He can't really stop this. He might put in like another Ragdoll or two on Lion, but it's not going to matter too much. Instead, he's going to go here and take a camp here. And notice this ward here reveals both these camps. These are important camps that you can take. And also shows you what was in this camp. Sometimes you can also take creeps from here. And this just allows you much easier access. Also, this of course sees if there's a mid hero coming to gank or something like that. So now you have this very powerful centaur, but you only have 30 seconds to play with this, because Enchantress at level 1 can only take creeps for 30 seconds. That's not a lot of time. So what you want to do here is you want to run ideally at a ranged hero, because ranged heroes just don't have damage block, so they take more damage, which is especially important if you have two sources of damage, which with the creep and the Enchantress herself. And then if you have this Stomp creep, or you have the Hellblast Smasher with the clap, you always want to try to come around from behind. You're going to cut off the enemy at an angle and not just run at them straight forwardly. You're going to come in here with the Centaur from behind, and he could probably land a stun here anyway, because he came from behind. But just to ignore everything here, Monkey King is going to cast a Boundless Strike, and then they're going to follow up. But immediately with a stun, notice that there's no overlapping here, just perfectly timed, and they do get the kill here. And yeah, this is a great way of starting off a lane, and that first blood's gold obviously helps you a lot. He's also running an extra sentry wards because he knows he's going to have to deward more camps. So yeah, that's something that you have to do if you play Enchantress or Chen. And right away, it's going towards the next camp. Also trying to sack here. But unfortunately, these creeps walk at such an angle that they're actually blocking this camp on the return journey. So this doesn't get stacked. And yeah, I didn't get any stacks here. So this one is also sort of dewarded. He already placed his first sentry that would deward that. And but yeah, this camp is totally his fault that he didn't stack that. And yeah, you should really prioritize stacking the bigger camps, because that's where the valuable creeps are for Enchantress. And notice he dewarded here by placing the ward in the middle of the camp. This way you can be guaranteed to get any ward that's blocking this, and then you can just deny your own ward. So now he's out of good creeps. He used this creep, he used this creep. So you could try to go deeper in the jungle to get more creeps, but that's not really efficient, because it's going to take you too long to walk with that creep back to your lane. So instead, it's going to go for these creeps. And he's Enchantress. He's fairly speedy, 320 movement speed. He doesn't have that much HP, so you can definitely kill him, but it's not that easy, right? So this is a fairly safe move to do. So he just gets this creep. It's not ideal to get Valving Ripper. You prefer literally any other big creep, but it's still annoying to have this tornado channel at you. And it's if you play Enchantress, you should probably have a extra tornado hotkey. You just have a control group for your tornado, so you can move this more efficiently. But yeah, the problem is level 1, Enchantress said you just don't have enough time to channel the tornado to do proper damage. Here, this is not the best spawn from the small camp. Creeps you want to have is the Harpy, which does a lot of damage in the early game with her lightning. You can also take the Ghost. That one has a slow attack and a lot of pierce damage. It's also a decent creep, but not nearly as good as the big creeps. And here in this situation, I actually think it might be good to just take one of the Wool Assassins here, just to be able to clear this camp more easily and get more of the last hits. But decides against it here. And minute mark is coming up, so it's stack now. And let's see if we can do it this time. And so yeah, this is where you really want to be if you want to stack both these camps. You just stand here, and then you just... Actually, it's not going to even try for this camp. What you want to do is hit this creep at like 53 or 54, and then you have to hit this creep and pull them down here somewhere. Like you walk like this, and they can stack both these camps. But I think Puppey might believe that this camp is warded or something because it didn't stack earlier. But yeah, now he has this Dark Claw Summoner, which is a decent creep. Doesn't do that much damage without the skeletons, but it has this Ensnare, very powerful root ability here. That's going to get Kake incredibly low, and it's walking the creep past here, trying to block, but not quite going to be a kill, but still, that's a lot of damage done here. Onto Lion is going to have to use his healing salve. And you just try to do this over and over again here. You try to stack the camp if possible. And here it goes for the pull. Maybe it would have been better to actually try to stack some of these camps. But decides for the pull instead. Also, just the knowledge of experience is nice. So now he's gone for a fluffy hat and a magic stick as the next items. So typically the build up on Enchantress is you want to go for one, which is a very efficient item on Enchantress, and you upgrade that to Holy Locket. Holy Locket is pretty much the defining item for Enchantress these days, because it just gives you a lot of things you want. You want extra HP pool because Enchantress is so low on HP, and extra mana is also really important because when you're spamming out impetus in those fights, you're gonna run out of mana rather fast, so extra mana pool is really helpful. Also along the way, you can make a mana boots with the energy booster that you can then disassemble to complete the Holy Locket. So just a really nice item with a great build up, and of course the passive really makes your Nature's Descendants much stronger. You can combine this then with the talents here with +5 Nature's Descendants Wisps. And if you get so far in the game, which probably you won't, if you get level 25, you can also get that second plus Nature's Descendants Seal talent. So here Puppey has been setting up for a kill in the mid lane, but the line is also there, so Puppey is going to try his best to survive as long as possible. And they will eventually kill him, but he gets off this great clap here on both heroes, and Emo is going to fall here. Yap's also coming in. So another great rotation here. Pays his own life for the enemy mid laner, which Nisha, of course, is going to be very happy with. Yeah, now she's going to go and do something more here in mid lane or bottom lane. So the thing is, Monkey King is already in a great position here, is up more than a full level here onto Mars. He doesn't need your help anymore, right? Which now means you're free to go to other lanes. And mid lane especially is very promising. You have both these heroes being sort of rather squishy but doing lots of damage. So this is a very volatile matchup where extra +1 from Enchantress can do a lot of good. And also this is where you can find some of the enemy creeps. Like if you take away this creep, for example, down here, that's also denying farm to the enemy. So what you always want to do is draw these creeps by aggroing them so they're closer to where you want them to go, so you can make more use out of that limited lifetime that they have. And here in this case is also going to farm one of these centaurs, leaves one here to block the camp, and now it's going to try and set up some sort of play in the mid lane. As always, you want to run in from behind. You don't just want to run like this, you want to run from behind so you get into the retreat path of the Lina, and then he gets off the best stomp ever. Like, look at this stomp. This is the perfect stomp. In fact, I'm going to make a screenshot of this stomp because it's so perfect and use that for a thumbnail because that is just perfection. Yeah, and that is going to be a kill here onto the Lina, most likely, but first Kaka, and then Lina is also going to die. Yeah, great play here from all Secret. Also, rotation coming in here from Matumba Man. Very strong play here. Of course, they used a lot of heroes there, but they also killed 3 heroes by losing nothing. So Enchantress very good at taking towers. Obviously, you see he's actually taking over a melee creep. This is going to help out a lot. Melee creeps have a basic attack, which is good against towers, better than the hero damage actually. So this creep is going to add a lot of damage, and also it's going to tank all these tower shots and keeping the regular wave alive and allowing them to take this tower without taking any damage on their own heroes. Puppey's also getting infused raindrops, which is a very strong item, especially if you're playing against bursty heroes like Lina and Lion. Lion is a bit away from having his Finger of Death, but eventually he's going to have it, and Lina of course does have her ultimate, so if you can block some of that damage, that's so important, because Enchantress, as you said, has a very low HP pool. So as long as you can burst, survive the burst, you can then heal up once you have Nature's Attendants, and be in a good shape. Just trying to pressure this tower, but Reaver is not a very easy hero to kill, obviously. You just want to get whatever big creeps you can, pretty much. The Automata is one of the stronger, though. That's this Shockwave, which you can cast 4 times. Even though the range doesn't look very large, it actually goes for much longer than the cast range. You can see how far that went, like double the cast range, pretty much. So this is a very useful creep. Also has an HP regen aura, which is decent, but just a little bit of a bonus here. But mostly just using it for the right click stats. Doesn't have the greatest armor, but has a lot of HP. And therefore can tank quite a few tower shots here before it dies. And yeah, this is just the strength of this kind of line that Secret are running. Ench is one of the strongest heroes in the early game. Quite possibly the strongest lane support. And yeah, before like the, let's say, 15 minutes mark or something, these creeps are just strong enough that they provide a lot of extra value in any sort of fights. But that's also why Enchantress is oftentimes not as successful in like pop games and more disorganized games, and especially lower level games where games tend to be dragged out a little bit longer. People are less objective focused, so and this early game strength of Enchantress is less relevant in lower level games than it is in pro games. That's something to take into account. Ench is not the easiest hero to play. Like, you need to actually make a huge amount of use of that early power spike. And we just sort of like dither around, you know, you farm a camp hero there, you like sit in lane a little bit and sort of take it easy, then you're gonna lose with Ench. You really need to have an enormous sense of urgency. You need to make things happen constantly as Ench. In terms of item builds here, you can either just go straight for the Holy Locket, or you can throw in this medallion first. Either way is fine. You also sometimes see Enches just go for mech first, and just go like mech and Holy Locket. That's a fine build as well. But generally speaking, out of Puppey, you're always going to see this medallion. Just a very strong item in this minus armor strat that they're running here. And just in general, a strong item for Ench. Just boost that physical damage that your creeps do. So I'm gonna go for that first. And yeah, you just want to keep fighting here. You want to make use of your power spikes, and they actually barely managed to kill Flyfire there. But that was very close. That almost didn't work. This Ogre Frostmage is another great creep to have, especially once you have 2 or more points in an enchant, because this just gives you lots of value over time by just spamming out this ice armor onto all your heroes. What ice armor does is gives you 5 armor, which is quite a bit. And then also, whenever heroes hit, whether it's from a ranged hero or a melee hero, that hero is going to be slowed by 25% movement speed and attack speed, and that slow is going to last for 5 seconds. That's a very long time. This is a great creep to have in the early game, not like super high value. You'd rather have these big creeps, but especially later on, it's going to be one of the best creeps to have. But more important than getting the best creeps, just getting some creeps. Like this Ghost, she's not the best, but she does have a huge amount of piercing damage and also a very fast attack. So this is piercing damage, so there's bonus damage against the other creeps, but less damage against heroes and buildings. And yeah, the slow is also kind of nice, but in general this is not like the most high value creep, but it's better than nothing. And also, like, if your carry wants to farm these stacks and whatnot, it's often better to just take one of the smaller creeps so that you can leave more farm to your carry or to your mid lane in this case. Looks like Puppey's even going for Solar Crest here. Also a great item to get on Ench, but probably most of the time we would see an Ench just sticking with the medallion, at least for now, and then going all the way into the Holy Locket before then maybe completing the Solar Crest. But here in this game, it decided that, you know, this Solar Crest is very valuable, especially in a hero like Monkey. Gonna benefit a lot from the Solar Crest, and to that extent TA also. So we've got a great setup here from Yapso and this Ench in these fights. You just want to sort of hang around here. You don't want to be too close, not too far from the fight, so you can still cast your stuff, your enchant and so on. But not die, because as a support Ench, you're not that tanky, right? The medallion here being used on Roche. Obviously, great Roshing item. And you can also tank Roche to a certain extent because you have the Untouchable. And Roshan has 200% attack speed, so even with 120 slow, he's still going to be attacking you at like a decent clip. But especially if some ninjas attendants, you can heal that off. And whenever you find yourself a little bit of extra time, you can just go ahead and push out the lane, especially with a creep like this. Can be quite useful. And he's just going to send in this creep to keep pushing this wave. A very standard thing to do as an Ench. You don't want to spend too much time there, and you don't want to get ganked. So, and this creep would have just pushed out this wave, but here they see some sort of fight brewing, so it's going to bring the creep as well. And yeah, again in these fights, you don't want to be in the middle of things. You want to be on the outskirts so you can cast your Impetus, which in this case is only level 1, so it's not going to do that much damage. But yeah, we're going to be on the outside, use the medallion on whatever is most highly valued, and then you can also use enchant for slows, and also very importantly enchant the spells, which in this game is not the most relevant, but there's some lineups where this is going to be a very strong ability. They're going for this pressure on the tier 2 tower with the catapult wave, and notice how he's sending the Conqueror from behind here. Maybe you can find a hero there. And if not, you can just drag this wave so that you can keep putting damage onto this tower with a catapult. But in this case, they decide to go into the mid lane, so that kind of becomes a moot point. And the catapult dies. But if they had not put it out all the way there, this move would have allowed them to put on a lot more damage with that catapult. In this game, Puppey's in maxing out enchant, which you can do. You can also just leave it at like 2 points. You always want 2 points at least, because 30-second creeps don't do very much, but 60 seconds is already enough to do quite a bit of things with your creeps. But just maxing out just means your creeps are going to be even stronger, more armor, more damage, as well as having that 2-minute duration. That's something you probably see most of the time, but if you're in a game where you say you really need that heal to be maxed out, you can just leave enchant at 2 and then max out the heal first. And this kind of convince pretty much what you want to do as Ench. You want your team to be aggressive, you want to secure a carry's farm and then use your early mid-game strength. Because at this point, the creeps are already starting to fall off. Maybe these creeps are still decent. They have like 59 HP, roughly speaking. They're not that easy to kill, but already enemy heroes are strong enough that creeps are not doing that much in fights anymore. So this is really where Enchantress starts to fall off quite a bit. So at this stage, you know, we still use creeps, of course, for their auras and such, but the main fighting abilities of creeps are not going to be nearly as impactful anymore. So now you mainly provide value 3 healing, which as a +5 is typically what you want to max out over Impetus. Here the Dark Summoner is not that great for fighting, but it's good for pushing out waves, so actually does decent amount of damage. It's ranged, but it's not piercing damage, it's actually hero damage, just like all the other big creeps. But the Red Skeletons he still is a pretty good kind of pushing creep. So what you can often do is just, you know, send one of your dominant creeps, like this Darker Summoner, or even just like a basic range creep, and just have it push out the lane. And this way you can get some gold, you can create some map pressure. But that's more something you want to do in a bit more passive game. Yeah, this is a very active game where they're still sort of looking for kills around the map, and your Roshan is not available anymore, but they're looking to keep control of the map, get the second Roshan, but before that spawns, they want to take out these other towers so that it's going to be much more difficult for IG to actually contest that very important second Rosh. The second Rosh is usually where you can really start to take serious objectives. First Rosh can help you secure some of the other towers, but then second Rosh is what can allow you to go high ground. I'll put it in there just to respond to this triangle invasion, and Fly is gonna get away though. He's a Weaver. That's just what Weavers do, but yeah. Problem is that Winter's Curse doesn't care about Untouchable. These are allied heroes, so they don't get slowed down from Untouchable. That's something you have to keep in mind. You are quite vulnerable there, but it's a trade, so it's not too bad for them. And I say not too bad instead of amazing, because you know they are behind here, so this is definitely a goal advantage for IG. But of course, they used an important ultimate there. Puppey has picked up a Pupil's Gift, which is a pretty strong item on Ench. The most important part about the itemization on Ench is just not get bursted. This is a great addition because it gives you 14 strength, more than any other tier 2 item. And the edge is also even not that bad, especially once you have Impetus maxed out. You can get some more attack speed for more of your right-click DPS, but that most importantly is just about the strength. Another great tier 2 item is the Essence Ring. That active gives you a lot more tankiness. You can also go for something like a Ring of Aquila. This is fine, but usually some sort of Agiko is going to want this. This is okay. Extra attack range gives you more damage with Impetus, but that's not really the focus too much on +5 Ench. Yeah, you can also get this Philosopher's Stone, you know, extra GPM, extra mana. Why not? And then Bullwhip is nice as well. This one can be good as well, but you're pretty much never going to get this because your core is going to want this. Actually, Nethershell is also a decent item. So Impetus, it gives spell damage, like the bonus damage is spell damage. That's going to get amped. And yeah, you know, you don't care about as much about armor as you do about magic resistance, because you're already protected quite well by Untouchable from most physical stuff. But usually this is a very strong item. Usually there's other heroes in the team that can make better use of this. But it's also a decent choice here. But probably this is just the most important one. Just extra stats is great in Ench. After the Holy Locket, you can go ahead and get something like a mech. Obviously, great combination with mech and Holy Locket. Very synergistic. Or you can just go for like standard defensive items. You can get like a Glimmer Cape or a Force Staff, things like that. Eon Disc is great in Ench, so you don't get bursted. You can get something like a Lotus Orb to help out your carry. Those are sort of the main choices here. You can also go for the Shard, which is kind of decent, but it's more like a little bit of a luxury item. The more important stuff is the ones I mentioned before. And with Mech probably being the most popular choice and the most standard choice. And these fights, again, we want to stay sort of away from the main enemy cores and just keep right-clicking here. You can occasionally use an Impetus here, which you probably should be doing a little bit more. But that's fine. You can heal people with a Holy Locket, and you usually want to be casting this on your main carry. And Monkey King is a carry that has a lot of synergy with Solar Crest, but almost any core is going to benefit a lot from this. Roche is up once again, and the great thing about TI is you can actually solo Roche, but it's going to go faster if Ench is going to help out. They use Solar Crest here and just tank the Roshan. If you get 2 levels in Untouchable, Roshan is doing almost no damage to you. He's like slowed to 1/5 of his typical attack speed. So that is very slow, and easy to survive that. So now they're up in the high ground, and yeah, I mean, at this point this game is pretty much over. The Puppey has provided all the space that Monkey King needed to win this lane. He's made lots of space around the map, taking objectives early on, and now he's sort of killing off Matu there. That was kind of a bit silly that he walked forward in that. But yeah, I mean, this is not going to change anything. The game at this point is over, and that's sort of the most important takeaway. It's just, you just need to make use of that early game. Like, this is when Enchantress shines. If you don't have huge impact in the first 15 minutes, then you're failing in your job as an Enchantress. It's not okay to just do fine in the lanes. That is not acceptable. As Enchantress, you need to win the lanes. And ideally, you win more than not one lane for your team. And that's sort of what the hero provides, and why he's quite popular in competitive Dota. So we're going to learn more about also other similar heroes that sort of use creeps and such, like Chen and Beastmaster, Lycan, and so on. Please subscribe to this channel because I cover these heroes a lot. And also there's a video here on the screen that you can click on and watch next. And all is willing, I will see you there.